What's going on, guys? Welcome to your 30-second C++ tutorial, and in this tutorial I am super excited because I'm going to begin talking to you guys about something called an array. So an array is basically one of my favorite parts of C++ because an array is basically a variable that can store multiple values, and you can do a bunch of cool things with them. And like I said, it's one of my favorite parts dealing with C++. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, an array is basically a lot like a variable, but instead of just storing one value like 8 or 20 or 87, it can store multiple values. So if you're saying, alright, that's kind of weird, but let me go ahead and show you guys how to make one. In order to make an array, you first write what data type you're working with. Let's go ahead and make a simple integer array. Next, just like a variable, you type something you want to call it. I'm going to call my array Bucky because it's a pretty cool name. And now, right after this, with no space, in square brackets, you go ahead and you write how many numbers, in this case, how many integers, do you want to store in your array. So let's go ahead and say 5. So what the compiler is going to do now is it's going to create an array that can store 5 integers. So whenever you run this, your compiler is going to set aside some space to hold 5 integers. So you're saying, alright, so now one array can hold 5 different integers. Pretty cool, huh? So here is how, well, there are a lot of different ways you can create an array, but probably the most basic and easiest to understand is called an array initializer list. And an array initializer list is basically just a list of numbers, and you have to put it in between these squiggly brackets. I don't know the technical name for them, but they're above the square brackets on your keyboard. And in between it, you write a comma separated list of 5 numbers. So let's go ahead and print out like 66, 75, 2, 43, and 99. And that is basically all it is to create an array. So we went ahead and we created an array called Bucky, and Bucky was able to hold 5 integers, and whenever we gave it its 5 integers, we had to put it inside something called an array initializer list. So we have 5 integers: 66, 75, 2, 43, 9, 99. So now, whenever we want to use those values, you're saying, alright, say I wanted to print out one of these values like 2 or something. So let's go ahead and see out Bucky. Okay, well, I can't do that because if I just say the array name, it doesn't know exactly what value I'm talking about here. So in order to let C++ know what value you want to use from that array, we have to use something called the array index. So let me tell you guys this first. When I said an array is made up of a bunch of different values, the technical term whenever you're working with array is called elements, and all they are is values, but we have to be professional here, so we're going to call them array elements. So 66 is one element, 75 is one element, 2 is an element, so on and so forth. So whenever we want to index a specific element in our array, we go ahead and we write the index number inside our square brackets. So you might be thinking, alright, the index number for this one is 1, this one is 2, and this one is 3. So let's go ahead and try to print out Bucky 3 and see what happens. Let's go ahead and end that line. And we should be expecting 2 right here. So let's print it out and check it out. 43, what the heck? I thought it was going to be 2. Okay, so 43 is the 4th one, not the 3rd one. So what's going on, Bucky? Well, the reason that it printed out 43 is because whenever we're dealing with computers, I don't know if you guys know a lot about binary and zeros and ones, but you know how people start counting at 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I learned how to count to 10. Well, computers, they start counting everything with a 0. So whenever we create our array, this first element, even though it would be number 1 to us, to the computer, it's actually element 0. So let's go ahead and print out Bucky 0, and as you can see, whenever we run this, we get the number 66. So whenever we are referencing indexes, or excuse me, elements in our array, we have to remember that our array starts counting at 0. So 0, 1, 2. So this is actually the 2 index. So let's go ahead and print out Bucky 2. And now we go ahead and we get 2 right there. So again, the basic things I want you guys to remember is this. An array is basically a variable that can store multiple values. The easiest way to create an array is this. Write the data type, write your array name, and then write however many elements you want your array to hold. And we stored 5 integers in this case, so that's why we passed 5 integers in something called an array initializer list. So basically, whenever we create Bucky 5, we're telling our computer, alright, Bucky is going to be holding 5 different values, so compiler, go ahead and set aside some space in our memory to hold 5 integers. So that's what it did whenever it created this line. And aside from that, I want you guys to notice this. Each value in the array, I say value sometimes, but technically they're called an array element. And in order to reference one of those elements, we use something called an array index. And the first element in every array is index 0. So if you wanted to print out 99, it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Bucky 4, whenever we ran this program, is 99. Pretty cool, huh? So that's basically the most simple way I can explain arrays to you guys. Again, I said that one way to create an array was to use an array initializer list. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show you guys a different way to create an array, and it's a lot cooler way. So if you don't quite understand arrays yet and don't quite understand why they would be useful, then just stick around and I trust me. What I say? I trust me. Of course I trust myself. And trust me, you guys will in the upcoming tutorial. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial.